Hi guys, welcome to an introduction to one-point perspective drawing. Before getting into the drawing itself, I like to warm up with some circles and ellipses, just as practice, to get my hand used to making the shapes in one clean stroke. To start with, they're pretty rough and messy and not very accurate, but as you go, they get a little bit cleaner and start resembling the shape more and more until after about like 5 minutes or so, my hand's warmed up and ready to start on doing the construction of the one-point perspective. And I use a ruler just to map out the horizon line, which is that horizontal line. The vertical line is our center line. And then the point in the middle is the vanishing point. So with quick, long fluid strokes, mapping out the points fanning out from that center point, and then creating a horizontal plane for the base of our shapes to be constructed on. So viewing things in a one-point perspective, we're trying to emulate how the eye perceives space. So I'm imagining that these objects are going to be sitting on a table. So I'll create a base, so imagining the footprint of a box on the right, and then on the left I'll do a cylinder. So we'll start with constructing a rectangle on the right hand side, and that's what those horizontal lines that I've created there are, and now these verticals projecting up from those edges. So the intersection points are our edges, and going, our horizontals are perfectly horizontal and our verticals are always perfectly vertical, and then any lines going back at a diagonal are receding back to our vanishing points. So I've sped it up here a little bit for cleaning up the lines since I finished the construction. And moving on to the cylinder, it starts with the same principle of creating the footprint of the shape and then dividing it up in half. So I divide it up vertically and horizontally. So I'll break it down just a little bit more here with a bird's eye view of the construction of the circle. So if you're having difficulty drawing a circle freehand, try this method. I didn't do it super cleanly or accurately the first time, but as you go, you'll get it looking better and better. You're trying to establish in each of these quadrants, in each of those squares, a nice arc that emulates that wedge that I've sketched out up the top there. So you just create a square and divide it in half vertically and horizontally. And then when we place that into our perspective grid, we're just imagining that that's been flattened. So instead of it looking exactly like that circle did from the bird's eye view, instead it'll be squished a little bit and it'll look like an ellipse. So a circle that's been twisted and distorted by perspective. So going from working in each square first and building the whole shape up. So I'm not working the shape all at once. I'm just doing it in those little squares and going from one edge to another and trying to get those nice wedge shapes. And here where I'm just filling in the box for the cylinder, so creating the top of the box so I know where to place my ellipse on that top plane. So it's the same method of construction for the box on the right hand side, where all your vertical lines are perfectly vertical and in line with that center line, and your horizontals are in line with your horizon line. And the trick is to just be really light with a pencil. If it gets messy, you can always rub out what you've got on the page and work back in. That's something that you'll see a little bit here, where I have all these construction lines, and in order to progress the drawing, I'll erase everything with a kneadable eraser, so it's just faint. And then I can go back in now with a harsher pencil. So I'm going back in with a 2B, and before I was drawing with an HB. So keep using that kneadable eraser, taking the line away, but not entirely, so I can still use it as a guide, and constructing nice clean lines for my shapes. I just put in a light source up the top right, and now laying in some cast shadows. And those are thinking about the footprint that shape is going to be leaving behind on the table after that light source hits it. And then creating some shading and rendering on the opposite side of that light source. And trying to follow the contour and the shape of the cylinder by warping around it in the same arc as those ellipses that I constructed before, and using cross-hatching with my pencil combined with a little bit of smudging with my finger, and cutting back in with the kneadable eraser creates a nice clean finished render. And because this is on quite a white, like the background is entirely white, and I wanted the boxes to have a little bit of a context, more than just their cast shadow, I'm going to go back in to the ground, to the table that they're sitting on, and just add a little bit of graphite so that it's clear that they are receiving they're meant to be your focal point. They're meant to be what you focus on. So thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.